Let's continue your discussion. Let's now go to investments. We have three types of financial assets. Number one, financial asset at amortized cost. Number two, FVOCI. And number three, FVPL. Sir, paano natin malalaman kung alin dyan yung classification of our investment? It will depend on the business model test and cash flow characteristic test. For amortized cost, yung business model natin is hold to collect, meaning i-collect natin yung interest and principal until maturity. Cash flow characteristic natin is SPPI or solely payments of principal and interest. Let's go to FVOCI. For FVOCI, our business model is hold to collect and sell. Cash flow characteristic natin is also SPPI or solely payments of principal and interest. For FBPL, yung business model natin is held for trading. So basically, nag-active trading tayo and after tayo sa short-term profits. Complete natin yung table. Alin dyan yung pwedeng debt securities? Actually, lahat yan pwedeng debt security. Alin dyan yung pwedeng equity security? Amortized cost, hindi pwede yan. FVOCI and FBPL, pwedeng equity security yan. Let's go initial measurement. Amortized cost is initially measured at fair value plus transaction cost. FVOCI, same, fair value plus transaction cost. FVPL, fair value lang yan because yung transaction cost, i-charge natin yan to expense. Let's go to subsequent measurement. Amortized cost is subsequently measured at amortized cost. Pag sinabing amortized cost, gagamitin natin is the effective interest method. Pag sinabing effective interest method, gagamit tayo ng amortization table. Alright? Now, for FVOCI, tignan mo muna if it's a debt or equity security kasi pwedeng debt, pwedeng equity yan. Kapag debt, effective interest method yan. And then, gagawin mo dyan, amortize muna, and then mark to market ka. Alright? Kapag equity, hindi tayo nag-amortize. Right? So, ibig sabihin, diretso mark to market yan. Lahat ng unrealized gains or losses, for FVOCI, whether debt or equity, pupunta yan ng other comprehensive income or OCI. Alright? Now, pag FVPL, tingnan mo muna if debt or equity. Okay? Actually, whether debt or equity, mark to market natin yan. Lahat ng unrealized gains or losses natin, pupunta siya ng PNL. Kaya siya tinawag na FVPL. Alright? Lahat diretso ng PNL. Okay, now take note na kapag debt, huwag mo i-amortize. No amortization because pag FVPL, short term yan. So, walang sense na mag-amortize ka dyan. Okay, now, yun yung general rules natin. May two exceptions. Kapag equity instrument yan, na not for trading. Kasi pag for trading kasi, FVPL agad yan kapag for trading. Right? Now, if it's an equity instrument na not for trading, pwede natin siyang i-classify as FVOCI. Ang tawag natin dyan class is FVOCI by election. Right? Ang tawag natin dito kanina, mandatory FVOCI. Ano yung difference ng dalawa? Kapag mandatory FVOCI with recycling. Ano ibig sabihin, sir, na with recycling? Pag binenta natin yung FVOCI or i-recognize natin yung OCI, pwede mo i-charge to PNL. Okay? Pag FVOCI by election, no recycling. Ano ibig sabihin yan, sir? Kapag binenta natin yung FVOCI, yung unrealized gains or losses natin sa OCI, di diretso ng retained earnings. Hindi yan papasok ng PNL. Alright? Next, exception. Kapag amortized cost or FVOCI, pwede mo pa rin siyang gawing FVPL. Ang tawag natin dyan, fair value option. And this is by FVPL by designation. Okay? And take note, yung dalawang exceptions na yan, both of them, irrevocable. Ibig sabihin, wala nang bawian yan. Okay? So once ginamit mo yung two exceptions na yan, irrevocable na yan. Now, punta tayo sa debt securities. Again, yung three financial assets na yan, pwede silang debt securities. And we know, debt securities, nag-earn sila ng interest income. And gagamit tayo ng amortization table. Ang tawag natin doon, effective interest method. For debt securities, meron tayong two na relevant rates. Effective rate and nominal rate. Ang ibang tawag sa effective rate, market rate or discount rate. Ibang tawag sa nominal rate, stated rate or coupon rate. Kapag equal yung dalawa na yan, the present value of the debt security is equal to the face amount. Okay? If effective rate is greater than nominal rate, the present value is at a discount. Okay? If the effective rate is less than the nominal rate, the present value is at a premium. But whether discount or premium, dapat yan, eventually, the present value should be equal to the face amount. Ang tawag natin dyan, amortization. Punta naman tayo sa equity securities. Ano yung pwede maging equity securities? Yan lang, FVOCI and FVPL. Debt securities, nag-earn sila ng interest income. Equity securities naman, nag-earn sila ng dividend income. Okay, meron tayong 4 examples of dividends. Yung most common natin, cash dividend. Next, property dividend, liquidating dividend, and stock dividends. So, meron tayong 3 relevant dates for dividends. Date of declaration, date of record, date of payment. Kailan tayo may journal entry, date of declaration. Punta tayo sa cash dividend. Tingnan natin kung income ba siya or hindi siya income. Okay, cash dividend, yes, income yan. Dividend income equal to the cash na marireceive natin. Right? Property dividend, that's also income. Equal naman siya sa fair value of the property. For liquidating dividend, hindi siya income because return of capital yan. Binabalik sa atin yung investment natin. Stock dividends, hindi rin siya income. Ang mangyayari kapag may stock dividends, dadami yung shares natin. Okay? Yung cost per share natin, bababa naman. Pero take note class, pag stock dividends, yung total cost natin will be the same. Ulitin ko, kapag stock dividends, tataas yung number of shares. Cost per share mo, bababa. Pero yung total cost mo will still be the same. Actually, meron tong close concept niyan is, ang tawag natin stock split. May dalawang klaseng stock split. Meron tayong stock split up, stock split down. Ano yung effect niya sa number of shares? Obviously, pag up, tataas. Pag down, bababa. Cost per share natin, anong effect niyan? Stock split up para siyang stock dividends. Bababa yung cost per share mo. Alright? Stock split down naman, tataas yung cost per share mo. Pero, either way, lahat yan. Stock split, stock dividends, total cost natin, tandaan nyo lagi class, is the same. Okay? Total cost, same. Nagkakaiba lang yung number of shares and yung unit cost natin or yung cost per share natin. Alright? And take note also, for stock dividends and stock split, no journal entry. Ulitin ko, stock dividends and stock split, no journal entry. Memo entry lang yan. Let's apply the concepts. Let's go to our handouts. Investments, number 1. Which of the following is not a category of a financial asset? A, FVPL, B, FVOCI, C, amortized cost, dog yung hindi kasama dyan. Walang financial assets held for sale, walang ganyan. Letter D for number 1. Number 2, a financial asset shall be measured subsequently at amortized cost. Punta ka dun sa letter D or dog. Amortized cost siya if the business model is to collect contractual cash flows that are solely payments of principal and interest. Hold to collect, and SPPI, solely payments of principal and interest. For number 2, dog yung sagot natin. Number 3, which of the following statement is true concerning recognition of unrealized gains or losses, or yung UGL natin. Number A, UGL on financial assets held for trading. Ibig sabihin yung FVPL, held for trading. Okay? Pupunta daw siya ng profit or loss? Yes. B, UGL na amortized costs are not recognized. Hindi ka na pumarket kapag amortized costs. Amortization table lang. C, unrealized gains or losses on FVOCI are not recognized in income statement. Tama yun. Hindi siya sa income statement nilalagay. Sa statement of comprehensive income siya. That's why all of the above statements are true. Dog for number 3. Okay, let's go to the computation. Number 4. Tignan mo muna yung question. What amount of unrealized gain on this security should be included in the 2026 income statement? Let's read the given. During 2025, CBA company purchased marketable equity securities for 1,850 to be held for trading. Ano ibig sabihin held for trading? Classification mo, FVPL. The entity properly classified the investment as FVPL. In 2025, the entity appropriately reported an unrealized loss of 200,000. Ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. Pag-DT account lang ako dyan, FVPL. Sabi dyan, binili natin siya, 1,850,000. Alright? And then, nagkaroon ng loss na 200. Tama ba, class? Ang nangyari dyan, 1,850 minus 200, 1,650,000. Ito yung market value mo, December 31, 2025. Ang tanong sa atin, 2026. There was no change during 2025 in the composition of the portfolio. Pertinent data on December 31, 2026. Let's compute the total. May cost daw tayo na 600,000 plus 450,000 plus 800,000. Yun yung 1,850,000. Consider natin yan. Now, market value ng 2026, 700,000 plus 400,000 plus 900,000, that is 2 million. So, ibig sabihin, class, from 1,650,000, naging 2 million siya. Therefore, nagkaroon ng gain, 1,650, naging 2 million. Difference nila is 350,000. Ang tawag natin dyan, unrealized gain. Answer mo dyan, letter A, 350,000. Easy. Okay, number 5. Let's see the question. What cumulative amount of unrealized loss should be reported as component of OCI? Okay. ABC company acquired an equity instrument number of years ago for 3 million and classified it as FVOCI. So, gawin ko dyan, class, number 5. T-account lang ako dyan, FVOCI. So, in-acquire natin siya 3 million. On December 31, 2025, the cumulative loss recognized in OCI was 400,000. So, kung may loss ka na 400,000, ibig sabihin, nabawasan. 3 million minus 400,000, 2.6 million na lang. Tama? So, that is for 2025. December 31, 2025. Next, on December 31, 2026, the issuer of the equity instrument was in severe financial difficulty and the fair value has fallen to 1.2 million. Bumaba na 1.2 million. Sold for X, 2.6 million. Naging 1.2. Ibig sabihin, bumaba tayo ng 1.4 million. Okay? So may loss tayo, unrealized loss. And take note, ang tanong sa atin is cumulative amount. Okay? Huwag mo isasagot yung 1.4. Kulang yan. Kasi loss din yung 400,000. Tama? Realized loss din yan. 400,000 plus 1.4. Sagot mo dyan, total yan is 1.8 million. Letter boy yung sagot natin. Kapag ang tanong sa ating class is yung for the year, hindi yung cumulative, hindi, sagot mo, 1.4. Ang tanong cumulative eh. Tama? Na ipepresent mo sa statement of changes in equity, 1.4. Pag ang tanong, ipepresent mo sa statement of comprehensive income, pag ang tanong, statement of changes in equity, 1.8 yung sagot natin. Which is boy, yun yung sagot natin ha. Pag ang tanong, statement of comprehensive income, sagot mo, 1.4 million. Okay? Number 6. What total amount should be charged to retained earnings as a result of the sale of equity securities? Okay. During 2025, XYZ company purchased marketable equity securities, a short-term investment to be measured at FVOCI. The cost and market value, alright, on December 31, where? So, tingnan natin, yung total cost natin is 5,150, add natin, 300,000 plus 1.7 million plus 3,150, lagay mo dyan, 5,150,000. Market value, 350,000 plus 1,550,000 plus 2,950, lagay mo dyan, 4,850,000. The entity sold 10,000 shares of B on January 5, okay, for 1,450,000. What total amount should be charged to retained earnings as a result of equity securities? So, ang classification nito, class, is mandatory FVOCI, alright? Actually, medyo i-change natin yung tanong, no? So, for number 6, ilagay mo lang dyan, what total amount should be charged to P&L? Okay? Kasi with recycling tayo dyan eh. Alright? With recycling yan. Okay? To be measured at FVOCI. So, change mo yung question, what total amount should be charged to P&L as a result of the sale of equity securities? Okay, tingnan natin. Tandaan nyo, ang binenta lang dito is sino ba binenta dito? the entity sold 10,000 shares of B. So si B yung binenta. So tingnan mo muna class. Si B, meron siyang cost na, according to the problem, 1.7 million. Yung market value niya, okay, market value niya is 1,550,000. Tama ba? So tama ba class, si B, meron siyang unrealized loss. Difference sila, 1.7 million yung cost, 1,550,000, you have 150,000 loss. Alright? So in that case, ibebenta natin si B. Paano yung entry natin dyan? Debit cash. 1,450,000. Alright? And then, i-debit natin yung unrealized loss. Kasi balance sheet account yan, equity account yan. Debit unrealized loss, 150,000. I-credit natin si FVOCI at market value. Yan yung naka-percentage at market value. 1,550,000. Ibig sabihin class, yung gain or yung loss natin on sale, tingnan natin, paano magiging balance yan? 1,450,000 plus 150,000. Okay, 1.6 million yung... Okay, so 1.6 million. Double check ko lang. So meron tayong realized loss. Sorry, unrealized loss. Muli natin yung entry. Yung unrealized loss natin, kailangan tanggalin na natin yan sa books natin. Tama ba? So ulitin ko class. Nagbenta tayo. Debit cash, 1,450,000 given sa problem. Tanggalin natin yung FVOCI at market value. Tanggalin mo yan. Unrealized loss natin na nasa equity, tanggalin mo rin yan. Normal balance is debit, kaya tayo nag-credit. Okay? So ibig sabihin, balancing figure natin, 1,450,000 yung debit, minus yung credit natin, 1,550, minus 150,000. Ibig sabihin class, meron tayong loss on sale, which is 250,000. Sagot natin dito class, letter C, 250,000. Bakit sir? Because yung number 6 na yan, classify daw siya as FVOCI. Ito siya, mandatory FVOCI yan. Kapag binenta mo yan, lahat ng OCI pupunta ng PNL, kaya may loss on sale ka dyan. OCI, pupunta ng PNL. Yung ibig sabihin ko doon. Okay? Letter C for number 6. Number 7. Ito yung pagkakaiba niya. Yung number 7 naman, ito naman yung FVOCI by designation. Okay? Or by election. Tingnan natin. On January 1, the EF company purchased non-trading. Dapat hindi siya, not for trading siya, equity investments which are irrevocably designated at FVOCI. So yung difference nila, yung number 6, mandatory FVOCI. Yung number 7 naman, by designation, okay? Or by election. Purchase price daw and transaction cost. Alam natin class, yung transaction cost pag FVOCI, kinakapitalize mo yan. Okay, so add mo dapat yan. Purchase price and transaction cost. And then meron tayong market value. On July 1, the entity sold security C. So sisilang muna yung isipin natin. Okay, so for security C, tingnan natin, meron siyang cost, and then may market value siya. Tama? So yung cost ni security C, purchase price na 4 million, plus transaction cost na 400,000, 4.4 million. Market value niya is 4.7 million. Tama ba class? Meron siyang unrealized gain na 300,000 difference nila. Na binenta natin. Entry natin, debit cash, 5.2 million. Credit FVOCI at market value, 4.7 million. And then, debit natin yung unrealized gain, 300,000, which is an OCI account. And then balancing figure natin, 5.2 million, plus 300,000 minus 4.7 million, you have 800,000. Ang i-credit mo dyan, retained earnings, 800,000. Kaya sagot mo dito, sa number 7 is 0. Okay? Dog yung sagot mo dyan. Kasi ang tanong, what amount of gain should be recognized in the income statement? Hindi pwede. Kasi without recycling yan. Okay? So yung OCI mo pupunta ng RE. Income statement yung tanong, 0 yan. Pag ang tanong sa'yo dito, what amount of gain should be recognized in the retained earnings? 800,000 or A yung sagot mo. Income statement and dog yung sagot mo dito. Ulitin ko class. For number 6, since with recycling yan, okay, mandatory FVOCI, pupunta ka ng PNL. Okay? Kaya sagot mo dyan, 250,000 letter C. Again, change mo yung question dyan na hindi dapat retained earnings. Sa number 6, dapat PNL. Number 7 naman, 0 yan kasi pupunta naman sa retained earnings yan. Okay? Kapag by election na FVOCI. Alright? Sige. Now, and also class, take note, ang shortcut dito, kapag gain or loss yung tanong sa'yo, okay, is just the proceeds na 1,450 and yung cost. Kasi sa entry mo, nag-offset yan eh. 1,550, credit mo. Yung 150, dinebit mo. Credit mo. So, ibig sabihin, yung gain or loss mo is just the difference between the proceeds, 1,450 and 1.7 million. 1,450 minus 1.7, 250. Dito rin, ganun din. Benta natin 5.2, yung cost mo is 4.4. 5.2 minus 4.4, that is 800,000. So, yun yung shortcut mo dyan. Proceeds minus cost kapag FVOCI. Let's go to number 8. Okay, number 8. What amount of dividend income should be reported for the current year? Let's read the given. GHI company revealed the following information pertaining to dividends from non-trading investments. Bullet 1. Tingnan natin class kung alin dito yung income. Okay? So, bullet 1. The entity owned 10% interest of JK company which declared cash dividend of 500,000 on November 30. Pag cash dividend, income yan. Okay? Sabi ko kanina, income yung cash dividend which is equal to the amount of cash na marireceive natin. So, in that case, 500,000 class, yun yung total na dineclare. 10% lang yung sa atin. So, it means 50,000 yung income natin dyan. Bullet 2, October 15, the entity received liquidating dividend. Pag liquidating dividend, return of capital yan, hindi yan income. So, ibig sabihin, sagot natin dyan, letter D, 50,000 for number 8. Number 9. What amount should be reported as gain on sale of investment in the current year? An entity acquired 40,000 ordinary shares. Lagyan natin number of shares, 40,000. On October 1 for 6.6 million. Yun yung total cost. Tama ba? 6.6 million. And then, to be held for trading, on November 30, the investors distributed 10% ordinary share dividend. Ito siya, stock dividend. 10% daw. Ano 10% ng 40,000? 4,000. So, total number of shares mo na dyan is 44,000. Yung total cost mo, same yan, 6.6 million. Pero yung cost per share natin, tignan natin. 6.6 million, originally, divided by 40,000, 6.6 million, divided by 40,000, 165. Pero ngayon, after the stock dividend, 6.6 million, divided by 44,000, you have 150. Kaya sabi ko, class, kapag stock dividends, bumababa yung cost per share natin. Stock dividends, taas yung shares, baba cost per share. Pero yung total is the same. Total mo, 6.6, 6.6 pa rin. Cost per share, 165, bumaba to 150. What amount? Or, okay, on December 31, the entity sold 4,000 shares for 1 million. Debit cash, 1 million. Credit natin yung investment natin. FBPL yata yung investment dito. Yes, according to first sentence, held for trading. So, FBPL yan. Ilan yung shares? 4,000. Yung cost per share natin is 150. 4,000 times 150. Credit mo dyan is 600,000. Ibig sabihin, meron tayong gain on sale. 1 million minus 600, 400,000. Boy is our final answer. Let's go to number 10. For number 10, this is about debt security naman. Okay, so tingnan natin, class. What is the carrying amount of the bond investment on December 31, 2025? On January 1, 2025, an entity acquired 4 million, 12% face amount bonds for 3,675,000. Yung 12%, ano tawag natin dyan? Nominal rate. Ibang tawag sa nominal rate, stated rate or coupon rate. To be held as financial asset at amortized cost with a 14% effective yield. Effective or market rate or discount rate, magkamukha na ibig sabihin nun. Interest on bonds is payable annually December 31. Bonds mature January 1, 2029. The effective interest method is used. What is the carrying amount of the bond investment on December 31 or basically after 1 year? Gagawa lang ako ng partial amortization table, interest received, interest income, amortization, and carrying amount. Yung carrying amount natin is 3,767,000 beginning. Tama? And take note, class, yung interest received, lagi siyang based on nominal rate natin na 12%. Pag interest income, based on effective rate. Always remember that, ha? Okay, so 4 million times 12%. Interest received natin is 480,000. Interest income natin, which is basically yung carrying amount of 3,767,000 times 14%, 527,380. Minus mo yung dalawa na yan, minus 480. Amortization natin is 47,380. Again, ang goal natin sa amortization, mag-equal yung present value to face amount. Ano yung face amount dito? 4 million. Dapat papataas yan. 3,767,000 plus 47,380. Answer mo dito, class, 3,814,380. Letter A. Easy. Okay, 3,814,380. Number 11. On December 31, what is the carrying amount of the investment in bonds? So on July 1, ingat ka, July 1, so 6 months lang kasi December 31 yung tanong sa atin. Pinnacle Company purchased a long-term investment, 1 million, 8% bonds for 946,000, including accrued interest. Tanggalin mo yun. So hindi dapat kasama yung accrued interest. So yung purchase price natin na 946,000, tanggalin mo yung interest na 40,000 because if 10% minus interest receivable, 906,000 lang. Yan lang talaga yung investment in bonds natin. The bonds were purchased to yield 10% interest. The bonds mature January 1, 2030 and pay interest annually. Okay? So interest received, interest income, amortization, and carrying amount. So gawa ka ng partial amortization in the board exam para at least sigurado tayo mas madali yung computation. 906,000 yung beginning carrying amount natin. Interest received, again, it is based on the coupon rate of 8%. Yung interest income is based on the effective rate of 10%. So let's compute. Interest received, principal natin is 1 million times 8%. Pero take note, July 1 binili. December 31 yung tanong. Times 6 over 12. Times 6 over 12, 40,000 yung interest receivable natin. Interest income, 906,000 times 10%, times 6 over 12 kasi 6 months lang, 45,300. Difference ng dalawa, 5,300. Yung face amount dito is 1 million, so dapat tumaas siya, 906,000. 906,000 plus 5,300. You get here, 911,300. Final answer, letter A, 911,300. That's for your investments. Let's go to investment in associate. Equity securities din yan. Okay? Pero in this case, ang ownership natin is between 20 to 50%. Yung pinag-usapan natin kanina, below 20% yan. Pag nag 20 to 50% na ownership ka sa equity, securities, investment in associate. Associate na yung tawag mo dun sa investment mo. Now, we will apply the equity method. Paano yung equity method? Well, analyze natin yung T account. Beginning balance for the investment associate, syempre debit balance yan. Kapag equity method, mag-i-increase yan because of share in net income. Magdi-decrease yan because of dividends. And then we get the ending balance. That's what you call the equity method. Apply natin sa handouts. Let's go to investment associate. Question number 1. Which of the following statements best describes the term significant influence? Meron tayong presumption, kapag 20 to 50% yung ownership natin, meron tayong significant influence. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Letter C, the power to participate in the financial and operating policy decisions of the entity. So ibig sabihin, meron tayong influence. Okay? So decisions, so major decisions of the entity. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng significant influence. Letter C, the power to participate in the financial and operating policy decisions of an entity. Let's go to number 2. Which of the following statements is incorrect concerning the equity method? Isa-isahin natin yung choices. A. The investment is initially recorded at cost. Tama yan. B. The investment is increased or decreased by investor's share of the profit or loss. Kapag income or profit, syempre, tataas yan. Kapag loss, bababa naman yan. C. The investor's share of the profit or loss is recognized in the investor's profit or loss. That's correct. Letter D yung mali dyan. Dog yung sagot natin. Distributions received or dividends from the investee are accounted for as dividend income, hindi return of capital. Ang credit mo dyan, investment associate. D for number 2. Number 3, the excess of the investor's share of the net fair value of the associate's net assets over the cost of the investment is, so kapag may difference yung fair value sa book value, later, nagasagot tayo niyan, pero ang effect nun, i-adjust natin yung net income. Letter C yung sagot natin sa number 3, recognized as income in the determination of the investor's share of the associate's profit or loss. For number 3, letter C. Let's go to number 4. Question sa atin dyan, what amount of income should be reported from the investment? Okay, compute na rin natin yung ending balance of the investment associate. Let's read the given. On July 1, Mr. Accounting purchased 20% of those standing ordinary shares. Basta tumuntong ka ng 20% to 50%, alright? Automatic equity method. Okay, when the fair value of the net assets was 20 million. So 20 million times 20%, that's 4 million. Okay, so ibig sabihin, fair value is equal to book value. Walang issue dyan. Mr. Accounting has the ability to exercise significant influence. The following data concerning the investee are available. Okay, so July 1 binili. Ingat ka doon. So, ang gagamitin mo yung 6 months ended. Yung net income, actually, sagot mo na dyan kasi ang tanong sa atin, what amount of income should be reported from the investment? So, gagawin ko lang dyan, 1.6 million, yung share in net income, times 20%. 1.6 million times 0.2. Sagot mo na dyan, class, share in net income natin, 320. Lagay mo na dyan, letter boy, yung sagot natin, 320,000. What if, tinanong sa'yo, what is the carrying amount of the investment? Well, binili natin yung investment na 4 million, may share in net income tayo, debit IAA, credit share in net income, 320,000, tataas yung investment natin. May dividends tayo na 1 million, multiply natin by 20%, that's 200,000, credit natin yan kasi return of capital, 4 million, plus 320,000, minus 200,000. Pag ang tinanong, carrying amount of the IIA, 4,120,000 yung sagot mo. Pero ang tanong is income, so yung share in net income lang, 320, boy yung sagot natin for number 4. Number 5. Tingnan natin. What is the carrying amount of the investment associate? T-account agad. As you can see, puro T-account lang ginagamit ko. Almost lahat, ganito, T-account lang to compute for my answers. At the beginning of the current year, an entity purchased 40%. Encircle mo na agad yung 40%. Of an investee paying 2,560,000 when the carrying amount of the net assets equal 5 million. So, tingnan mo class, 5 million, pag minultiply mo by 40% yan, 2 million yan. Pero 2,560 yung binayad. So, fair value is different from the book value. Paano yung effect niya? Tingnan natin. The difference was attributed to equipment which had the carrying amount of 1.2 million, fair market value of 2 million. So, yung difference na 2 million minus 1.2, lagay mo dyan class, ulit mo muna 800,000. And the building with the carrying amount of 1 million, fair value of 1.6, difference nila 600,000. Okay? Yun yung excess. Okay, the remaining useful life of the equipment and building 4 years and 12 years respectively. During the current year, the investee reported net income of 1.6 million and paid dividends of 1 million. What is the carrying amount? Binili natin based on the first sentence at cost 2,560,000 yung beginning natin. Right? Now, ang effect niyan, kapag magkaiba yung fair value and book value, ma-affect niyan yung income natin. An adjusted net income ni associate is 1.6 million. Okay? Ang gagawin ko dyan, meron tayong excess, dalawa. May depreciation tayo, tama? So, yung una nating class, yung na-compute na 800,000, i-divide natin siya by ilan yung remaining life niya? 4 years. 800,000 divided by 4, dapat mag-depreciate tayo ng 200,000. Ganun siya. So, i-adjust natin yung net income. Because mas mataas yung market value than the carrying amount. If it's the other way around, plus naman yan. Okay? Yung isa pa na compute natin na difference, 600,000, divide natin by the useful life of 12 years, 600,000, divide by 12, that's 50,000, so minus tayo. Ibig sabihin, class, yung adjusted net income natin. Let's compute, 1.6 million, minus 200,000, minus 50,000, you have 1,350,000. Ilang percent yung share natin? 40%. Share in net income, 150,000 times 0.4, 540,000. So, lagay natin sa share in net income, debit, 540,000. May dividends, sabi sa problem, last sentence, dividends of 1 million. 1 million times 40%, 400,000. Credit mo yan. Therefore, ending balance of investment associate, 2,560,000 plus 540,000 minus 400,000. Answer natin, 2.7 million, letter B. Easy. 2.7 million. Alright, so that's for investment in associate. Next, joint arrangement. Actually, joint arrangement, part talaga yan ng FAR in the board exam. Pero, discuss na rin natin sa FAR kasi type of investment din naman siya. Joint arrangement, ang pinaka-important na concept nito is that there must be a joint control between two parties. Paano natin masasabi na may joint control? 3 characteristics. There must be a contractual arrangement, sharing of control, and unanimous consent between the two parties sa major decisions nila. Okay? In that case, meron tayong joint control. We have 2 types of joint arrangement, right? Meron tayong tinatawag na joint venture and joint operation. Paano natin malalaman kung joint venture or joint operation? Depende kung alin yung right natin. Kapag ang right is on net assets or equity, it is a joint venture. Ang i-apply mo dyan, accounting is equity method. Ano yung equity method? Ayun, kaka-discuss na natin. Ginamit natin for the investment associate. May share in net income minus dividends. Kapag joint operation naman, ang right natin is on assets and liabilities. Okay? Yung accounting nito, we will recognize proportionate share in assets, liabilities, income, or revenues and expenses. Okay? So, ganun siya. Again, pag write natin sa net assets, joint venture yan. Equity method. Pag write natin sa assets and liabilities, joint operation yan. Proportionate share tayo. Okay, let's apply. Let's go to our handouts. Joint arrangement number 1. An arrangement whereby the parties have joint control, right to the net assets. Kapag right sa net assets, joint venture yan. Letter B for number 1. Number 2, a joint arrangement whereby the parties that have joint control of the arrangement have rights to assets and obligations or liabilities. Joint operation yan. Letter A for number 2. Number 3, in financial statements that are not separate financial statements, how should a joint venture account for its interest in joint arrangement? Equity method. Paano yung equity method? Let's see the choices. A, as an investment measured, dog yung sagot mo dyan sa number 3. As an investment measured using the equity method. Kasi ang tanong, joint venture eh. So, equity method ka, dog. Number 4, for financial reporting, a joint operator or joint operations account for its interest in joint operation by, punta ka sa C, recognize proportionate share, recognizing its own assets, liabilities, income, expenses, plus its share in assets, liabilities, income, and expenses of the joint operation. Proportionate share. Letter C. Let's go to number 5. Let's read the question. How much is the carrying amount of the investment? On January 1, Pinnacle Company entered into a joint arrangement whereby the parties have rights to the net assets. Uy, net assets. Joint venture yan. Equity method tayo. So, ibig sabihin, gawa ka ng T-account agad, investment in JV. Tingnan natin. For an investment of 2 million, lagyan mo dito yan, 2 million, Pinnacle obtained 30% interest. During the year, the entity reported net income of 4.8. Pag equity method, may share in net income tayo. 4.8 million times 0.3, 144,000. Yun yung share in net income natin. And then, declare dividends of 2.4. 2.4 times 0.3, 720,000. Let's compute for the ending balance, 2 million. Plus 144,000 minus 720,000. Carrying amount, 2720,000. Letter C for number 5. Ganyan yung equity method. Number 6. Okay, we have 2 questions. What is the amount of total assets to be reported by entity X? 7. What's the amount of total liabilities to be reported by entity Y? Let's read the given. Entity X and Y, incorporated Z. The contractual arrangement of the entities provided decisions based on relevant activities require unanimous consent. Entity X and Y have rights to assets and obligations or assets and liabilities. Ibig sabihin, joint operation yan. Recognize proportionate share. The shares of entity Z will be owned by entity X and Y, ratio of 60-40. Encircle me 60-40. At the end of first year operation, the financial statements provided the following data. Mag-recognize tayo ng proportionate share. Paano yan? So, binigyan tayo ng inventory, land, building, and so on and so forth. Let's continue reading. The contractual agreement of X and Y also provided for the following concerning assets and liabilities. Entity X. So, ang tanong sa number 6, yung total assets daw ng entity X. Okay? So, total assets, entity X. Computin na natin si Y, right? So for X, sabi dyan, first bullet, entity X owns the land and incurs the loan payable to Z. So yung land, kay X lahat yan, okay? So lagay natin land, buong amount yan, 3 million kay X. Okay, next bullet, and then loan payable. So ibig sabihin, yung liabilities, computin na rin natin. Yung liabilities ni X, meron siyang loan payable na 4 million. Okay, so according to the yes, tama. So sa given, may loan payable na 4 million. Sabi sa first bullet, ulitin ko, entity X owns the land, ayan siya, 3 million, and incurs a loan payable, 3 million. Number 2, entity Y owns the building. How much yung building? 5 million. Lagay mo yan kay Y. Alright? And incurs the note payable. How much yung note payable? 1 million. Lagay mo siya dito. Next, the other assets and liabilities are owned by X and Y based on their capital interest. If you remember, 60-40 yung interest nila. Ano pa yung ibang asset dito? Inventory. Okay, 60-40 sila dyan. So, total inventory, 1 million, 60% kay X, so that's 600,000. 40% kay Y, so that's 400,000. Ibig sabihin, class, 3.6 million yung total assets ni X. Si Y naman, 5.4 million. Ang tanong sa atin, si X, letter boy yung sagot mo dyan, 3.6 million. Let's go to the liabilities. And then, tingnan natin yung ibang liabilities. Isa-isahin natin. Accounts payable, 2 million. Walang sinabi kung kanino, so 60-40 sila. Accounts payable, 60% times of 2 million is 1.2 million. And then yung 40% is 800,000. So liabilities ni X, 5.2 million. Liabilities naman ni Y is 1.8 million. Ang tanong sa atin sa number 7, total liabilities of Y, so 1.8 million yung sagot mo dyan, letter A. Alright. That's for joint arrangement. Next, investment property. Okay? Pag sabi investment property, it is a land and building. Held for the purpose of earning rentals, pinaparenta natin, and pinapa-appreciate natin. Capital appreciation. Take note, land and building lang yan. Kapag machinery equipment, hindi yan pwede mag-invest in property. Owner-occupied property yon. Or, pag sabing owner-occupied property, ibig sabihin lang yan, PPE. Okay? So, pag land and building, held for earning rentals and capital appreciation, invest in property yan. Okay? Kapag hindi yan yung purpose, owner-occupied property or PPE yan. Next, paano natin mini-measure yung investment property? Initially, at cost yan. Pag sinabing cost, kung magkano natin binili, purchase price, plus directly attributable cost. When you say directly attributable cost, costs necessary for the intended use of the asset. In this case, the investment property. Subsequently, every December 31, pwede tayong gumamit ng cost model or the fair value model. Kapag cost model, subject to depreciation. Right? Kapag fair value model, isipin nyo parang FVPL lang yan. Okay? Magma-mark to market tayo. And lahat ng unrealized gains or losses, pupunta siya ng profit or loss. Okay? And hindi siya subject to depreciation. No depreciation. Okay? Tandaan nyo, pag cost model, subject to depreciation. Fair value model, not subject to depreciation. Mark to market, lahat ng realized gains or losses, P&L. Okay. Let's go to our handouts. Investment property number 1. Which of the following statements best describes investment property? O, punta ka sa C. Kakasabi ko lang. Letter C, property held to earn rentals or for capital appreciation. Tingnan natin yung ibang choices, class. A, property held for sale in the ordinary course of business, inventory yan. B, property held for sale in the production supply of goods and services, PPE yan. And, ayan, okay sana yung dog, kaya lang kulang. C yung kumpleto. Property held to earn rentals or for capital appreciation for number 1, letter C. Number 2, which of the following is an investment property? So, tingnan natin, class. Depende yan kung ano yung intention of the management. A, property being constructed or developed on behalf of the third parties. Actually, construction in progress yan. Hindi yan investment property. Boy, property that is being constructed and developed as investment property. Yung sinasabi ko na depending on the intention of the management. Ang intention is investment property, therefore investment property classification yan. Boy for number 2. Yun yung sagot. Letter C, property held for future development and subsequent use as owner-occupied. O, di owner-occupied yan, which is PPE. And letter D, owner-occupied property awaiting disposal. O, hindi yan investment property. Boy yung sagot. 3, subsequent to initial recognition, the investment property shall be measured at either, letter dog, fair value or cost less any accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment loss. D for number 3. Number 4. Okay. Let's see. XYZ company acquired a building on January 1, 2025 for 9 million. At the date, the building has a useful life of 30 years. On December 31, the fair value of the building was 9.6 million. 2025, 2026 naman, fair value is 9.8. The building was classified as investment property and accounted for using the cost model. What amount should be carried in the statement of financial position and recognized in profit or loss? Kapag cost model, i-depreciate mo lang. Cost minus accumulated depreciation lang yan. Minus accumulated impairment. So, ang gagawin ko lang dyan, may cost tayo, 9 million. Accumulated depreciation natin is, let's compute, 9 million. Depreciate natin 30 years, tama, useful life. And then multiply natin by 2026 yung question. January 1, 2025 binili, so 2 years, times 2. 9 million, divide by 30. Times 2. Accumulated depreciation is 600,000. Therefore, carrying amount natin is 8.4 million. Sagot natin yung class, carrying amount 8.4. Pupunta sa profit or loss is our depreciation expense. Okay? Ano yung depreciation expense natin? 9 million, divide by 30 or 300,000 per year. So sagot mo dyan class, letter A, 8.4 million and 300,000 depreciation expense. For number 4, letter A. Number 5. Okay, CPA company owned 3 investment properties with the following details. Meron tayong initial cost, meron tayong fair value 2025 and 2026. Each property was acquired 2025, useful life of 10 years. The accounting policy is to use the fair value model. I-disregard mo na yung 10 years kasi hindi ka naman di-depreciate kapag fair value model. What is the gain or loss for 2026? So parang FVPL, gagawin ko dyan, may investment property ako, tingnan natin yung cost. Add natin lahat, 2.7 million plus 3,450 plus 3.3 million. You have 9,450,000. Okay? 2025, yung fair value natin, add natin 3.2 million plus 3 million plus 3.9 million, 10.1 million. Okay? And then, 2026, 4 million plus 2.1 plus 3.6, 9.7 million. Right? So, ganyan ginawa ko. Now, from 9,450, bumaba ng 10.1. 10.1 minus 9,450. Kapag ang tanong sa'yo, 2025, ang sagot mo dyan, 650. Tumaas pala. 9,450, tumaas. Unrealized gain ka dyan. Okay? 2025 yung tanong. 2026 yung question. From 10.1, bumaba. Okay? Bumaba. So, ibig sabihin, 10.1 million minus 9.7 million, you have 400,000. 400,000 unrealized loss, kasi 2026 yung question, letter boy yung sagot natin yan. 400,000 loss. Okay. Next, other long-term investments. Ano ulit yung other long-term investments? Dalawa yan. Cash surrender value or CSV and bond sinking fund. Doon mo tayo sa CSV. Ano ba yung CSV? Amount the insurance company, lagay ko, amount the insurance company pays upon pre-termination, okay? Kapag terminate natin yung insurance before maturity, yung CSV, yan yung babayad sa atin ng insurance company. Basically, asset yan. It's a form of investment, okay? Now, yung CSV na yan, usually nag-start siya at the start of year 3. Okay? Upon payment natin ng insurance premium, start of year 3, nag-a-accrue na yung CSV natin. Now, yung accounting for CSV will depend kung sino beneficiary. Dalawa lang naman yung pwede. Yung top management natin, for example, president and CEO. So, yung insurance expense natin, which is usually ang tanong dyan, is just equal to the premiums paid. Kung magkano yung binabayad natin, ng premium sa insurance company, yun yung insurance expense natin. Now, if the beneficiary is the entity, paano natin kukumputin yung insurance expense? Well, yung insurance expense natin is basically equal to the premiums paid minus increase in CSV. Kasi habang tumatagal, tumataas yung cash surrender value natin. Minus dividends. Kasi naka-invest din yun sa securities, yung CSV natin na yan. So, ibig sabihin, class, ang insurance expense mo is this one. Okay? So, insurance premiums paid minus yung increase in CSV minus dividends, you get your insurance expense. Let's apply. Discuss na rin muna pa natin yung bond sinking fund. Ano sir yung bond sinking fund? Set aside, okay, funds set aside to pay long-term liabilities. Okay? Pero ang pinakamaganda example niya is bonds payable. Nag-set aside tayo ng funds para bayaran natin yung bonds payable natin or long-term liabilities. Yung accounting will depend kung sino yung administrator o yung magmamanage. Dalawa lang yung pwede. Yung entity yung magmamanage or meron tayong trustee. Usually, bangko yan, okay, pag trustee. Kapag yung entity mag-manage, kapag tayo, ang gagawin natin, magbabayad tayo ng interest, principal and interest sa mga bondholders, tayo bahala magbayad dyan. And then yung excess na cash natin, na hindi pa natin ibabayad sa mga bondholders, pwede natin i-invest yan sa mga debt and equity securities. Kapag naman si trustee, yung magmamanage, or yung administrator, siya bahala magbayad ng principal and interest dun sa mga bondholders. Lahat ng excess, pwede niyang i-invest yan sa debt and equity securities. Ang gagawin na lang niya, magsasubmit siya ng report sa atin. Reports to the entity, kung kamusta na yung performance and yung payment dun sa bondholders. Okay, so ganun lang siya. Sige. Let's go to our handouts. Other long-term investments. Number 1. Cash surrender value is the amount which the insurance firm will pay upon the surrender and cancellation of life insurance. Cash surrender value arises if the following requisites are present. Ito yung mga requisites niyan. A. The policy is a life policy. So, applicable lang yan sa life insurance. Sa non-life, hindi yan applicable. B. Premiums for 3 full years. Ayun, year 3. Okay? Diyan nagka-accrue yung CSB natin. The policy is surrendered at the end of the 3rd year or anytime thereafter. Dog yung sagot mo dyan. Letter D. Number 2. Sinking fund is a fund set aside for the repayment of a long-term obligation. Which of the following are correct? A. If the sinking fund is administered by entity. Ito siya. Tingnan natin. The entity makes all the investment decisions. Yes, nag-i-invest tayo sa debt and equity. B. If the sinking fund is administered by a trustee. The trustee makes all the investment decisions. Yes. The trustee provides the entity with the statement of fund balance. Yun yung nagre-report sa atin, yung trustee. C. Retained earnings may or may not be appropriated for the sinking fund. Pwede tayo. Nasa discretion yung ng entity. Okay? Kung mag-appropriate tayo ng RE. Ang tawag dyan, voluntary appropriation. So, true din yan. All of the above, dog for number 2. Number 3. BSA company has a 5 billion ordinary life insurance policy on its president. Okay. So, pag president. Okay, sige. The policy year and accounting year coincide. Binigyan tayo ng CSB, alright? And then may mga items na given. The entity is the beneficiary. So, ito siya. Ikaw yung beneficiary, so ganito yung computation ng insurance expense mo. So, ang question sa atin, what is the life insurance expense? Ganito lang gagawin ko dyan, class. How much ba yung premiums natin? Tingin ka dun sa third item. Annual advance premium, 100,000. Yung premium natin is 100,000. And then, nag-increase yung CSB natin from 245, naging 270. Tama ba, class? Yung increase ng insurance premium natin is 25,000. Okay? Pag nag-increase yung CSB natin, since asset yan, investment yan, bababa yung expense mo dyan. Increase in CSB, minus 25,000. And then, meron dividends. Dividend income yan, bababa yung expense mo dyan, 5,000 or 15,000. Insurance expense natin, 100,000 minus 25 minus 15. Answer mo dyan, class, 60,000. Letter D yung sagot natin dyan, dog. Number 4, in January 2025, DF company established a sinking fund in connection with its bond issue. A bank was appointed as an independent trustee. Ito. So, si banko daw. On December 31, the trustee held 364,000 cash, representing 300,000 annual deposits and 64,000 of interest earned. How should the sinking fund be reported in the statement of financial position? Again, imi-mirror mo yan. Okay? Long-term obligation yun. So, ibig sabihin, non-current asset mo i-report yan. Punta ka sa DOG, letter D, 364,000 should appear as a non-current asset. Okay, so that's for other long-term investments. Let's continue your discussion. Let's now go to property, plant, and equipment or PPE. Ano mga examples of PPE? We have land, building, machinery, equipment, leasehold improvements, furniture, and fixtures. Okay, so these are examples of PPE. So tignan natin yung measurement. Initial measurement of PPE is at cost. Basically, ito yung purchase price natin plus directly attributable cost, or ito yung costs necessary for the assets intended use. Subsequently, we measure the PPE either at cost model or revaluation model. Pag sinabi mong cost model, we have cost minus accumulated depreciation minus accumulated impairment. We have the carrying value, also called the book value or the carrying amount. Alright? Now, we have different modes of acquisition of PPE. So, i-run through na natin, mabilisan lang. First is self-constructed. Pag self-constructed, ang i-capitalize natin, direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. Okay? Now, if acquisition through cash, basically, i-capitalize natin is equal to the cash payment. Right? If on account or on credit, we have to deduct the discount, whether taken or not. Okay? So, whether taken or not, i-deduct natin yan. If it's installment, meron tayong hierarchy. Number 1 is cash price equivalent, if given in the problem. Kapag hindi given, priority number 2 natin is present value of installments. Next, exchange. Depende yan. With commercial substance, without commercial substance. If with commercial substance, okay, yung priority number 1 natin, fair value of asset given up plus minus cash. Pag tayo nagbayad, plus cash. Pag tayo naka-receive, minus cash. Kapag hindi given yung fair value of asset given up, fair value of asset received. Okay? And number 3, if hindi pa rin given yan, we have carrying value of asset given up plus minus cash. Again, pag tayo nagbayad, plus cash. Pag tayo naka-receive, minus cash. If without commercial substance or walang difference, walang significant difference in cash flows, ang measurement natin class is the carrying value of asset given up plus minus cash. And take note, kapag no commercial substance, no gain or loss is recognized. Next, trade-in. Kapag trade-in naman class, priority number 1 natin is fair value of asset given up plus cash payment. Usually, walang minus cash yan kasi tayo nagbabayad kapag trade-in. Kapag hindi available yan, number 2 natin, fair value of asset received. Okay? Yung fair value of asset received na yan is equal to cash price without or with trade-in. Alright? Next, issuance of shares or bonds. So ito lang yung medyo kakaiba dun sa mga rules natin. Kasi pag mapapansin nyo class, lagi ang priority number 1 natin is yung asset given up. Pero kapag mag-i-issue tayo ng shares or bonds, priority number 1 natin class is fair value of asset received. Kapag hindi given, doon lang tayo gagamit ng fair value of shares or bonds issued. Okay? Next, last one is donation. Tignan mo muna. Kapag unrelated party yung nag-donate sa atin, credit natin yung donation as income from donation. Okay? If naman shareholder yung nag-donate sa atin, i-credit natin yung donation to donated capital, which is an APIC or share premium account. Right? And also class, yung donation na yan, i-measure natin siya at fair value of the asset na dinonate sa atin. Okay? So these are the different modes of recognition of PPE. So apply mo natin yung class. Let's go to our handouts. Question number 1. PPE are defined as, punta ka dun sa letter D or dog, tangible assets held for use in production or supply of goods or services for rental to others or for administrative purposes. So ito yung definition of PPE under PAS 16, dog for number 1. Number 2, an item of PPE shall be recognized as an asset when. So ito naman yung rule natin talaga pag asset. Dapat probable and measurable. Punta ka sa letter D or dog, it is probable that future economic benefits will flow to the entity and the cost of the asset can be measured reliably. Laging ganyan. Okay, kapag asset, mag-recognize tayo if probable and measurable. Number 3, the cost of an item of PPE comprises all of the following except. So again, purchase price plus directly attributable costs. A, purchase price, yes, kasama yan. B, import duties and non-refundable. Dapat non-refundable bago mo siya i-capitalize. C, any cost directly attributable to bring the asset to the location and condition for its intended use. Kasama rin yan. Dog yung hindi kasama. Initial estimate of the cost of dismantling and removing the item. Okay, sana yan. Kaya lang, where the entity has no obligation, dapat required tayo by a contract, yun lang yung time na i-capitalize natin. Pag wala tayong obligation, wala sa contract, hindi mo yan i-capitalize. So dog yung sagot natin for number 3. Next, numbers 4 and 5. So, tignan natin, kakapitalize natin for the land and for the building. So, lagay natin dito. Ito yung land, ito yung building. Okay, during the current year, ABC Company had the following transactions pertaining to the new office building. Purchase price of land as a building site. So, walang minention na fair value of the building. So, ibig sabihin, sa land natin kakapitalize natin. So, 600,000 for the land. Legal fees for contract to purchase land. Okay, so kasama yan. Architect fee, syempre, building na yan, 80,000. Demolition of old building, sa building yan. And sale of scrap from old building. So, take note, merong revisions sa PAS 16, may amendments. Okay? Yung sale of scrap, before, deduct natin yan sa building. Ngayon, hindi na. Other income na yan. Incidental income. So, ulitin ko, may amendments sa PAS 16. Sale of scrap from old building, other income yan. Incidental income. Hindi niya na maapektuhan yung land or building. Okay? So, wala yan. Next, construction cost of new building. Obviously, that's sa building, 3.5 million. So, dumo tayo sa land, 600 plus 20, 620,000. Sagot natin sa number 6 is boy. For the building, we have 80,000. Plus 50,000 plus 3.5 million, you get 3630,000. Dog is the correct answer for number 5, right? 3630,000. Number 6, question is, what is the initial amount to be capitalized as the cost of the machine? At the beginning of the current year, XYZ purchased a new machine on a deferred payment or installment basis. Ito. Okay, the cash price equivalent was 2.3 million. Kapag installment, priority number 1 is cash price equivalent. Pag wala, i-present value natin, i-given. Cash price equivalent is 2.3 million. Due to an employee strike, the entity could not install the machine immediately and thus incurred 30,000 storage cost. Expense yan, hindi naman necessary yan, okay, for the asset's intended use. Cost of installation, excluding storage, is 80,000. Installation, kakapitalize natin yan, 2.3 million plus 80, 80,000. Letter B for number 6. Let's go to number 7. What is the total increase in the equipment as a result of the transactions? Dumo tayo sa bullet number 1. Acquired equipment at an invoice price of 3 million. So, lagyan natin, ito yung purchase price natin, 3 million. Subject to a 5% cash discount which was taken. Actually, kahit hindi taken, whether taken or not, i-minus natin yan. 3 million times 5% yung discount, minus 150,000 tayo dyan. Next, cost of freight and insurance, 50,000. Installation, 200,000. Okay? Add natin yan, 3 million. Minus 150,000 plus 50,000 plus 200,000, you have 3.1 million for the first bullet. Next, acquired a welding machine at an invoice price of 2 million, subject to a 10% cash discount, which was not taken. Again, kahit hindi taken yan. 2 million times 0.9, you have 2 million times 0.9, 1.8 million. Okay, so 1.8 million. And additional welding supplies were acquired at a cost of 100,000. Supplies yan, may kakapitalize yan. So 1.8 plus 3.1, final answer mo dyan, class, ulit. So 1.8 million plus 3.1, final answer is 4.9 million, letter A, easy. Total is 4.9 million, letter A. Next, doon naman tayo sa number 8. Alright, so let's see. At the beginning of the current year, GHI Company exchanged an old packaging machine which cost 1.2 million and was 50% depreciated. Tama ba, class? Accumulated depreciation natin is 600,000, which is 50% of 1.2 million. For a used machine and paid a cash difference, tayo nagbayad. Okay? The fair value of the old packaging machine was determined to be 700,000. I-priority natin sa exchange. Fair value of asset given up, yung binigay natin, plus cash. Tayo nagbayad eh. So what is the cost of the new asset? Ano yung fair value of asset given up? 700,000. How much yung cash na binayad natin? 160,000. 700 plus 160, you get 860,000. Letter B is the correct answer. Kasi available yung priority 1 natin. Pag hindi available yan, fair value of asset received. Okay? Number 9, what is the gain on exchange? Pag ganyan, journalize natin. Debit cash. How much? Sorry, ang na-receive na exchange to, so machinery na-receive natin. Debit machinery, new machinery, okay? Which is 860,000. Yung sagot natin sa number 8. Debit natin yan. Credit natin yung machinery old. Okay? Which is, in this problem is 1.2 million. Mag-debit tayo ng accumulated depreciation, which is 50% daw. So 600,000. Credit natin yung cash. Don't forget na nagbayad tayo ng cash na 160. So tingnan natin class yung balancing figure natin. May gain tayo dito. So 860,000 plus 600,000 minus 1.2 million minus 160. Okay, so that is 100,000. Double check natin. 860,000 plus 600. So you have 1,460 minus 1.2 million minus 160. Gain natin 100,000. Therefore, answer natin for number 9 is boy, 100,000. Next, numbers 10 and 11. JKL exchange a truck with a carrying amount of 1.2 million and a fair value of 2 million for a truck and 200,000 cash. Okay, so anong nangyari, class? Nagbigay tayo ng truck, naka-receive tayo ng truck plus cash. Tayo naka-receive ng cash dito, ha? Alright, the fair value truck received was 1.8 million. Kaya lang, the cash flows from the new truck are not expected to be significantly different. Ibig sabihin nun, no commercial substance. Without commercial substance. Pag ganon, carrying value. Okay, asset given up, since tayo naka-receive ng cash, minus cash, right? And walang gain or loss. Okay, so, ano yung carrying value of asset given up? 1.2 million, sabi niya sa first sentence. Naka-receive tayo ng cash, 200,000, therefore, sagot dito, class, 1 million, letter C. Number 11, what is the gain on exchange? 0. Pag without commercial substance, carrying value mo i-record. Okay, so, naka-debit ka ng carrying value, naka-credit ka ng carrying value, 0 tayo. Walang gain or loss kapag no commercial substance. Alright. Let's move on to depreciation. Okay, so we have different depreciation methods. Pero ang pinaka-ginagamit, yung 4 methods na yan. Straight line method, sum of the years digits method, declining balance method, and units of production method. Tingnan natin class yung formula. For straight line, we have cost minus residual value, also called salvage value, over useful life. Alright? For sum of the years digits, gagamit tayo ng SYD denominator. Okay, ito yung denominator natin. Ang formula natin dyan, useful life times useful life plus 1 over 2. Apply natin later yan para maalala natin. Declining balance method, meron tayong dalawa dyan. Double declining and 150% declining balance. Yan yung pinakasikat na ginagamit, right? Yung double declining and 150%. Pag double declining, 2 over useful life. Gagamitin mo dyan. Pag 150% naman, 1.5 over useful life. Multiply natin yan by their carrying amount. Yan yung depreciation natin. Units of production method, pwedeng output method or input method yung gagamitin natin. Okay? So, important dito yung base. Ibig sabihin, ano yung numerator natin or saan natin siya i-multiply. Alright? So, base natin is cost minus residual value, also called depreciable amount. Okay? Sum of the years digit, sum is also depreciable amount. Pero take note, kapag declining balance, carrying amount yung base natin. Diyan natin multiply. And units of production method, depreciable amount din yan. So, ingat ka dito, class, since sa declining balance, carrying amount siya, yung residual value, hindi mo yan i-consider. Alright? Except sa last year na. Okay? So, end of life, doon mo lang i-consider yung residual value. Alright? So, ganun siya. Okay, so, apply natin yan. Let's go to depreciation number 1. Number 1. Which of the following best describes the term depreciation? Punta sa letter A, yun yung definition of depreciation. The systematic allocation of the cost of an asset, less residual value over useful life. For number 1, A is the answer. Number 2, which of the following statements regarding depreciation is true? Okay, so tingnan natin yung mga choices. Letter A, alin daw yung tama dito? No? An asset must be depreciated from the date of purchase. Hindi. Kailan siya ready for use? Pag ready for use na siya, mali yung A. B, an annual depreciation charge must be constant. Hindi. Kasi meron tayong iba-iba yan. Double declining, sum of the years, hindi naman constant yan. Right? Or yung sum of the years, hindi yan constant. Yung double declining, constant rate yung gagamitin natin dyan. So, mali yung B. C, the total cost must eventually be depreciated. Hindi. Okay? Dapat hindi siya bumaba than your residual value. Alright? If the carrying amount of an asset is less than the residual value, depreciation is not charged. Yes. Okay? So, dog yung correct dito. Number 3, the depreciation method applied to PPE shall be reviewed periodically, and if there has been significant change in the expected pattern of consumption, a change in accounting estimate, accounted for currently and prospectively. Letter C shall be accounted for as a change in accounting estimate. Let's go to number 4. At the beginning of the current year, tingnan natin yung question muna. What amount should be reported as depreciation? At the beginning of the current year, M&O company bought machinery under a contract that required down payment of 100,000 plus 24 monthly payments, 50,000 each for total cash payments of 1.3. O given yung cash price equivalent. The cash price equivalent of the machinery was 1.1 million. So how much daw yung depreciation for the current year? Straight line method lang yan. 1.1 million. Yan yung cost natin. Okay? Kasi given yung cash price equivalent. And then the machinery has an estimated useful life 10 years, residual value 50,000. Minus residual value 50,000. Yun yung straight line method natin. Over useful life of 10 years, let's compute 1.1 million. Minus 50,000 divided by 10. You have 105,000. Answer natin for number 4 is 105,000. Number 5. What is the carrying amount of the machine on December 31, 2026? On January 1, 2025, so that's 2 years, January 1, 2025 up to December 31, 2026, CPA company purchased a new machine for 4 million. The new machine has an estimated useful life of 8 years, and the residual value was estimated to be 400,000. Depreciation was computed on some of the year stages. Pag SYD, some of the years, gagamit tayo ng SYD denominator. Ano yung formula? Useful life times useful life plus 1 over 2. Ano yung useful life dito? 8 times 9 over 2. Ilan yan? 8 times 9 divide by 2, you have 36. Okay? And then, i-multiply mo yan sa depreciable amount. How much yung depreciable amount natin dito? O, compute mo natin. Ang tanong sa atin is the carrying amount. Right? So, yung carrying amount, yung cost natin dito is 4 million, less natin yung accumulated depreciation. Take note, 2 years yung kukumpute natin. So, yung depreciable amount natin, 4 million minus 400,000 residual value. Okay? So, multiply natin siya by, ang gagawin natin dyan, yung first year is 8 over 36. Second year is 7 over 36. Sabayan na natin kasi 2 years naman. So, 8 plus 7 over 36. So, ganyan siya. Okay? So, compute natin class. 4 million minus 400,000 times 15 to numerator natin, times 15 over 36, you get 1.5 million. Okay? So, yun yung accumulated depreciation natin. 4 million minus 1.5, carrying amount natin is 2.5 million, letter boy for number 5. Number 6. On December 31, 2027, what amount should be reported as accumulated depreciation? An entity purchased equipment on January 1, 2025 for 5 million. Yun yung cost, okay? The equipment had an estimated 5-year useful life. The accounting policy for 5-year assets is to use the 200% double declining, okay? Or yung double declining. Ito siya. 2 over useful life, okay? For first 2 years, and then switch to straight line depreciation, okay? So on December 31, 2027, what amount should be reported as accumulated depreciation? Tama ba class, binili natin siya January 1, 2025. Ang tiyatawag sa atin 2027. So ibig sabihin, 2025 and 2026, according to their policy, double declining. 2027, straight line method, okay? Kumbaga parang change in estimate. Pwede mong ganun siya isipin, right? Now, kailangan natin malaman yung carrying amount after 2 years, and then apply natin yung straight line. So ang gagawin ko dyan, carrying amount as of January computing ko yung December 31, 2026. Okay? Tama ba class? Pag double declining, yung cost natin ng 5 million, multiply natin sa, tama ba? Useful life dito is 5 years. 2 over 5 is, ano ba 2 over 5? That is 40%. Tama? Yan yung double declining rate natin. Kung iyan yung depreciation, carrying amount mo ay 60%. Alright? So gagawin ko dyan, times 60%, isa pang 60% kasi 2 years. Okay? So nung minutit lang yung by 60%, nakuha mo yung carrying amount December 31, 2025. Isa pang 60%, carrying amount December 2026. Okay? So compute natin yan, 5 million. Times 0.6 times 0.6, you get 1.8 million. Now, apply naman natin yung straight line. Okay, so, wala namang residual value dito. So, divide natin by the remaining useful life. 5 years in total, nakalipas na yung 2 years, divide by 3 natin. Additional, 600,000 depreciation. Okay? So, ang tanong sa atin is accumulated depreciation. Paano sasagutan yan, sir? Sa first 2 years, tama ba class? 5 million yung cost, 1.8 million yung carrying amount. So, ibig sabihin, 5 million minus 1.8, you get 3.2 million. Iyan yung accumulated depreciation for the first 2 years. May 600 ka pa for the current year. 3.2 million plus 600, 3.8 million. Answer natin, letter B, 3.8 million for number 6. Alright, so yun na yung for depreciation. Let's now go to revaluation. Okay, to recall, PPE natin, pwede siya measured at cost, which is basically cost minus accumulated depreciation. Na-discuss natin yung depreciation. Or pwedeng revaluation model. Alright? Under revaluation model, subsequently, every December 31, PPE is measured at revalued amount. Sir, ano yung ibig sabihin na revalued amount? May hierarchy yan. It's the fair value of the asset, of the PPE. If hindi given yan, it's the depreciated replacement cost. Okay? Pag sinabi mo depreciated replacement cost, it is the replacement cost minus accumulated depreciation, you get the depreciated replacement cost. Kumbaga, yung depreciated replacement cost, estimate yan ng fair value kapag hindi given yung fair value. Pero ang priority, fair value. Right? Now, once makuha natin yung revalued amount, compare natin yan sa carrying amount, you get the revaluation surplus. Yung revaluation surplus, every year, transfer natin to retained earnings. Ang tawag natin dyan, piecemeal realization. Okay. So, let's go to our handouts. Revaluation Number 1, when accounting for PPE, an entity, punta ka sa letter C, may elect to use the cost model or the revaluation model of any class. Okay? So, letter C, sagot natin for number 1. Number 2, what is the revalued amount of PPE? Punta ka sa letter D or dog, fair value and depreciated replacement cost. Ito sila. Number 3, when an asset's carrying amount is increased as a result of revaluation, the increase is credited to revaluation surplus. And revaluation surplus, OCI account yan class ha. Other comprehensive income yan. Every year, tinatransfer mo yan to RE. Entry mo dyan, kapag transfer mo to RE, debit RS, credit RE. Okay? Piecemeal realization. So, letter A for number 3. Okay, so let's go to numbers 4, 5, and 6. Ito yung problem solving for revaluation. Number 4, what is the revaluation surplus January 1, 2025? Number 5, what is the depreciation for the current year? And number 6, what is the revaluation surplus on December 31, 2025? So, tingnan natin. See the given. On January 1, 2025, Pinna company reported the following account balances relating to PPE. Merong land, building, accumulated depreciation, machinery, and accumulated depreciation. After, assets have been carried at cost since acquisition. All assets were acquired on January 1, 2015. Tama ba class kung January 1, 2015? And then 2025 ngayon. So, ibig sabihin, nakalipas na yung 10 years. Tama ba yan? So, ganun nangyari sa problem. The straight line method is used on January 1, 2025. So after 10 years, the entity decided to revalue the PPE. On such date, competent appraisers submitted the following, replacement cost yung given. So kailangan i-depreciate mo yan. Alright? Walang fair value na given eh. So ang gagawin ko dyan, ihiwalay ko na yung land. Kasi land, di mo naman depreciate yan. Okay? So sa land natin, from 2 million, tama ba, naging 5 million. So alam natin, revaluation surplus sa land, automatic 3 million na yan. Huwag natin isama yan sa table natin. So ihiwalay natin yung analysis for the building and for the machinery. Doon tayo sa building. So ang gagawin ko dyan, meron tayong building, yung format natin, meron tayong cost. We have the replacement cost and the difference. The difference natin is the revaluation surplus. Okay? Building minus accumulated depreciation. Yun yung kailangan natin computin. Cost of the building given sa problem is 15 million. And then, tingnan natin class. For the building, paano natin malalaman kung ano yung total useful life niyan? Tama ba class? 10 years na yung nakalipas. And sa problem, ang given na accumulated depreciation is 3,750,000. Tama ba? 3,750,000. Pag dinivide ko by 10 yan, 375,000 per year yung depreciation expense ko. Okay? Per year. 15 million yung cost. Tama ba class? Kung 15 million, i-divide ko by depreciation expense per year, 15 million divided by 375,000, that is 40 years yung total useful life natin. So, useful life is 40 years. So, gagawin ko dyan, 15 million minus 3,750, difference yan is 11,250,000, and then doon tayo sa replacement cost. Replacement cost ng building is 25 million. Okay? Tama ba class? Total useful life is 40, nakalipas na yung 10 years. So, paano natin i-estimate yan? Yung accumulated depreciation. Gagawin ko dyan, 25 million, i-divide ko by 40 useful life, multiply ko by 10, you get 6,250,000. Alright, so, 25 million minus 6,250,000, you have 18,750,000. And then difference sila, 15 million naging 25, that's 10 million, 3,750 naging 6,250, difference is 2.5 million. So, ibig sabihin, 10 million minus 2.5, 7.5 million. Ito yung revaluation surplus of your building. Okay? Doon naman tayo sa machinery. Sa machinery, ganun din. So, meron tayong cost, we have replacement cost, and we have the difference. Same process yung gagawin natin, meron tayong machinery, and then meron tayong accumulated depreciation. So, given, machinery natin is 3 million, yung cost, accumulated depreciation is 1.5 million. So, carrying amount, 1.5 million. Replacement cost natin for machinery is 5 million. Tama ba class? Ilang years yan? Well, alam ko na 1.5 million, divide ko sa 10 years, so ibig sabihin, 150,000 per year in depreciation natin. Okay? Cost natin 3 million, i-divide ko by 150,000 per year, total useful life is 20 years. Okay? So, ang gagawin ko, 5 million, divide by 20, nakalipas na yung 10 years times 10, 2.5 million. Therefore, 2.5 million yung difference na. 3 million naging 5 million, that's 2 million. 1.5 million naging 2.5 million, that's 1 million. Revaluation surplus for machinery is 1 million. Add natin lahat. Revaluation surplus sa land, 3 million. Plus 7.5 plus 1 million. 3.5? Oh, yes, 3 million plus 7.5 plus 1 million. Sagot mo dyan class, boy, 11.5 million. Revaluation surplus natin, lagay mo dyan, 11.5 million. Alright. Boy yan. What is the depreciation for the current year? Siyempre, hindi mo di-depreciate yung land. Ito na yung carrying amount ng building mo. Okay? And then yung machinery mo, ito naman. So sa building, ang gagawin ko lang dyan, 18,750,000. And then, total useful life is 40. Nakalipas na yung 10. So yung remaining mo is 30. Divide ko sa 30, depreciation expense sa building is 625,000. For the machinery naman, ito na yung carrying amount mo, 2.5 million. 20 years yung total useful life, nakalipas na yung 10, so remaining mo is 10, you have 250,000. Add natin yung dalawa, 625 plus 250, sagot mo dyan class, 875,000, letter boy for question number 5. Number 6, what is the revaluation surplus on December 31? So after 1 year. Originally, revaluation surplus mo is 11.5 million. Ita-transfer natin to retained earnings yan. Parang divide mo lang sa useful life yan, parang depreciation lang, okay? Doon mo tayo sa yung land, hindi ka nagpipiecemeal dyan, kasi land yan eh. Sa building, Tama ba? 30 years yung, ang revaluation surplus ng building is 7.5. Tama? 7.5 million, remaining niya is 30 years. Divide mo sa 30, you have 250,000. So, bawas mo yan. Kasi ang entry mo, debit revaluation surplus, credit RE. Sa machinery naman, revaluation surplus mo is 1 million, remaining useful life is 10 years, divide by 10, you have 100,000. So, it means, ending balance sa revaluation surplus natin, 11.5 million beginning, minus 250,000, minus 100,000, you have 11,150,000. Boy for question number 6. 11,150,000. Easy. Sige, let's go to impairment. Okay. Impairment. Ano yung kailangan natin tandaan for impairment? Well, for impairment, we just compare two amounts. The recoverable amount and the carrying amount. Pag mas mababa yung recoverable amount than the carrying amount, you have impairment loss. Okay? How do you compute for the recoverable amount? Well, compare natin yung two amounts. Fair value less cost of disposal, also called fair value less cost to sell, or value in use, whichever is higher. Again, sa accounting, ito lang yung may rule na higher. Kasi si management gusto niya kung saan mas favorable yung decision. Okay? It's either to sell or to use the asset. So, ulitin ko, recoverable amount is just a difference between fair value less cost of disposal and value in use. Okay? So, basically, class, ang concept ng impairment, yung carrying amount natin, hindi siya pwedeng mag-exceed ng recoverable amount. Kaya nag-i-impair tayo. Okay? Sige. Let's go to our handouts. Impairment, number 1. What is an impairment of an asset? Punta ka sa letter A. A fall in the market value of an asset so that the recoverable amount is less than the carrying amount. Again, pag mas mababa yung recoverable than the carrying amount, you have impairment loss. Alright? So letter A for number 1. Number 2. What is the recoverable amount of an asset? Punta ka sa letter C. Fair value less cost of disposal, or also called fair value less cost to sell, or value in use, whichever is higher, letter C. Okay, so let's apply. Problem solving tayo. Number 3. Tingnan natin, what is the impairment loss? Number 4, gain on reversal. Number 5, what is the depreciation? That's already given. On January 1, 2025, Mr. Accounting Company purchased equipment, cost of 11 million, useful life of 10 years, and no residual value. So, lagyan natin cost, 11 million, useful life of 10 years. 10 years. Okay? No residual value. The entity used straight line depreciation at every year end. The entity determined that impairment indicators are present. There's no change in the useful life or residual value. The following information is available for impairment testing. So, meron tayong 3 dates ito. January 1, 2025, December 31, 2025, December 31, 2026. 2025 muna. Sabi sa number 3, what's the impairment loss? Well, compute mo natin yung carrying amount. Yung cost natin is 11 million. Accumulated depreciation natin after 1 year is 11 million over 10 years. Tama? So, ilan yan? 11 million divided by 10, that is 1.1. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, 1.1 million. Carrying amount natin as of December 31, 2025, 11 million minus 1.1 million, you have 9.9 million. Ito yung carrying amount natin. Compare natin sa recoverable amount. Nakalagay dyan class, fair value less cost of disposal, 8.1 million. Value in use, 8,550,000. Siyempre, whichever is higher. Ano mas mataas? Value in use. So, yun yung recoverable amount natin, 8,550,000. Difference sila is impairment loss. 9.9 million minus 8,550,000, 1,350,000. Letter A, impairment loss, 1,350,000. Number 4, what's the gain on reversal? For 2026, so update natin yung carrying amount. Since nag-impair ka na, ito na yung carrying amount mo. Tama ba? Pero kailangan natin i-depreciate yan for 1 year. Kasi 2025 yun eh. So recoverable amount natin, 2025 is 8,550,000. I-depreciate natin yan. So minus natin yung, and then compute natin yung depreciation for the year. Alright? So paano compute yan? 8,550,000 over remaining useful life. Ano ba yung useful life natin is 10 years before. Okay? Nakalipas na yung 1 year. So divide mo sa 9. So 8,550,000 divide by 9, depreciation expense natin is 950,000. Therefore, yung carrying amount natin as of December 31, 2026, 8,550,000 minus 950,000. 8,550,000 minus 950, you get 7.6 million. Okay, so tingnan natin kung ano gain reversal. Compute natin yung fair value less cost of, compute natin yung recoverable amount. Fair value less cost of disposal is 8.4 million. Value in use is 8.2. Ano pipiliin natin? Whichever is higher, 8.4 million. Okay? So, yung difference sila, 7.6 naging 8.4, you have 800,000. So, gain on reversal, letter boy, 800,000. Pero, double check mo muna ha. Dapat i-compare mo yan sa carrying amount, assuming no impairment. Alright? Ano ba yung original cost natin? 11 million. After 2 years, ano yung accumulated depreciation mo? Let's say, hindi tayo nag-impair in the first place. 1.1 million per year, tama? Times 2, therefore, you have 2.2 million. So, yung carrying amount natin, December 31, 2026, assuming no impairment is 11 million minus 2.2, that is 8.8 million. Okay, so safe tayo. Kasi recoverable amount mo is 8.4, yung limit mo is 8.8. So okay lang, mag-reverse ka hanggang dyan. Pag mababa naman yung 8.8, let's say 8 million lang to. Hanggang 8 million ka lang. Ito yung limit mo, yung carrying amount, assuming no impairment. Alright, that's for impairment. Let's go to wasting assets and depletion. Wasting assets, applicable yan sa mga mining companies. So, ang kailangan natin dyan is to determine how much is the cost of wasting assets. Meron tayong 4 na pwede i-capitalize. Number 1, acquisition cost. Basically, ito yung purchase price of the land. Okay, kung saan tayo magmimina. Next is exploration. and evaluation costs. Okay? Actually, magpe-prevail dito is PFRS 6. Okay? And according to PFRS 6, depende yan sa entity, sa company, sa management's policy, pwede natin i-capitalize or pwedeng expense. If silent, i-capitalize natin yan. Okay? And next natin class is development costs. Tignan mo muna, for development costs, dalawa yan eh. Pwedeng intangible development costs, pag ganyan, i-capitalize mo sa wasting asset. Kapag naman tangible equipment, PPE naman siya. Okay? So ano yung implication yan? Siyempre, kapag intangible wasting asset, depletion to. Okay? Kapag naman PPE, depreciation naman yan. Kapag ang tanong sa'yo is depletion, huwag mo isasama to. Right? So, yun yung implication yan. And last one is the restoration costs. Okay? Restoration cost, again, dapat naka-present value siya and dapat required tayo by law to restore the property. Okay? Now, sa PPE, din-depreciate natin. Wasting asset, dini-deplete natin or depletion. Ang ginagamit natin for depletion is the units of production method. Basically, units of production method is cost minus residual value over total expected output. Okay? Kung ilan yung mamimina natin. Ito yung formula natin for depletion. Yung depletion, kapag nag-compute tayo dyan, magiging inventoriable yan. And then pag binenta natin, yung namina natin, magiging cost of goods sold na yan. Okay, so that's what you do for wasting assets and depletion. Let's go to our handouts. Number 1, exploration and development expenditures are incurred. Okay, so yung exploration and evaluation cost, tandaan nyo class, punta ka sa BOY dyan. When the legal rights to explore a specific area have been obtained, okay, but the technical feasibility and commercial viability are not yet demonstrable, right? So ang tawag natin doon, exploration and evaluation cost. Doon mag-apply si PFRS 6. According to PFRS 6, pwede mo siya i-capitalize, pwede mo expense. Pero if silent, capitalize. Kapag kasi meron ka ng technical feasibility, pag exploration and evaluation, wala pang technical feasibility. Pag meron na, ang tawag na doon, development costs. Okay? BOY for number 1. Number 2, depletion expense, punta ka sa A, is usually part of cost of goods sold. Inventory muna, and then cost of goods sold. So A yan. Tingnan natin yung ibang choices. B, includes tangible equipment costs in the depletable amount. Mali yan. Kasi sabi ko kayo na, pag tangible equipment, depreciation, hindi depletion. So mali na. Nakalagay, excludes intangible. Hindi. Includes intangible. Kasi pag intangible, capitalize mo sa wasting asset, i-deplete natin yan. Excludes restoration, kasama. Kasama yung restoration cost sa cost of wasting asset. That's why A yung sagot natin. 3, the most common method of computing depletion, units of production, or ibang tawag natin dyan, is the output method or production method. Letter D for number 3. Number 4, problem solving for wasting assets. Question is, what amount should be reported as depletion for the current year? At the beginning of current year, BSA company purchased a mineral mine for 26.4 million acquisition cost. I-capitalize natin yan sa wasting asset, 26.4 million. With removable estimated or at 1.2 million tons. So yun yung denominator natin later, total expected output. After it has extracted all the ore, the entity will be required by law to restore the land to original condition at an estimated cost of 2.4. Yung present value daw is 1.8. So yung restoration cost natin dapat at present value, given na siya, 1.8 million. The entity believe it will be able to sell the property afterwards for 3 million residual value. Kasama yan sa formula natin sa depletion. Okay? During the current year, the entity incurred 3.6 million development cost. Capitalizable din yung development cost, 3.6 million. Preparing the mine for production and remove 80,000 tons and sold. 80,000 yung nakuha natin, binenta natin 60,000. Ang tanong sa atin, what amount should be reported as depletion for the current year? Okay, yun na pag ganyan, yun na benta lang. Okay, yun napunta sa cost of goods sold. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng tanong na yan. So total natin, 26.4 million plus 1.8 million plus 3.6 million. Total natin class is 31.8 million. Okay, compute natin yung depletion minus residual value according to the second paragraph, last sentence, 3 million yung residual value. According to the first sentence, 1.2 million yung expected natin na may extract. 31.8 million minus 3 million divided by 1.2 million. Depletion natin is 24 per ilan ba ito? Ton. Okay? And then yung na-extract or nabenta natin is 60,000. Again, pag ang tanong is depletion or depletion expense, yung cost of goods sold, yung nabenta natin. 24 times 60,000, sagot mo dyan, 31.8 million, parang mali. Times, nabenta natin 60. Okay, so 24 times 60,000, final answer, 24 per ton times, okay. Okay, so, ulitin ko. So, rewind tayo. Okay, rewind tayo. What amount should be reported as depletion for the current year? So, anong nangyari dito, class? Kapag depletion for the current year, sorry, i-follow nyo to, no, yung sinabi ko kanina. Yung depletion natin, mapupunta sa inventory, okay? Pag nabenta na, mapupunta na sa cost of goods sold. So, kapag depletion yung tanong, lahat ng na-extract natin. Okay? So again, pag depletion yung tanong, lahat ng na-extract, hindi yung nabenta. Okay? So correction lang. So for this one, 80,000 dapat yan. So 24 per ton times 80,000. So kung mo dyan, 1,920,000, letter A. Pag ang tinanong sa'yo, how much daw yung depletion sa cost of goods sold, doon mo gagamitin yung 60,000. Okay? Sige. Next, number 5. What amount should be recognized as depletion for 2026? Okay, so Let's do number 5. On January 1, 2025, XYZ company purchased land with valuable natural ore deposits for 10 million. In yung purchase price natin, capitalize natin yan, 10 million. The residual value is 2 million, so take note. At the time of purchase, a geological survey estimated recoverable output of 4 million tons. Yan yung denominator natin later sa depletion natin. Early in 2025, roads were constructed on the land to aid in the extraction and transportation of the mine, or at a cost of 1.6. So ano tawag natin dyan? Development cost, 1.6 million. Okay, so 10 plus 1.6, 11.6 million yung cost of our wasting assets. In 2025, 500,000 tons were mined and sold. A new survey at the end of 2026 estimated 4.2 million tons for remaining. In 2026, 800,000 tons were mined and sold. What amount should be recognized as depletion for 2026? Actually, nagkaroon ng change in estimate dyan. So, pakita ko sa inyo. Compute muna natin, class, yung depletion natin, 2025, 11.6 million minus residual value of 2 million. Multiply natin by the total output of 4 million. And then, ilan yung na-mine ng 2025? 500,000. Okay? So, yung depletion natin in 2025, 11.6 million minus 2 million divided by 4 million, that is 2.4 per ton. Okay? So, 2.4 yan. Times sa 500,000, times 500,000, yung depletion natin is 1.2 million. Okay? Now, anong nangyari? Nagkaroon ng change in estimate. End of 2026 daw, 4.2 million na lang. So, ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. Compute muna yung pairing amount. So, meron tayong cost na 11.6 million. And then, meron tayong accumulated depletion na 1.2 million. Therefore, 11.6 million minus 1.2, carrying amount natin is 10.4 million. Okay? December 31, 2026. Oh, sorry, December 31, 2025. Now, kailangan tayong mag-depletion for 1 year, 2026. And ang gagawin ko dyan, minus residual value, ano na yung revise natin na total expected output? Ingat ka dyan, nakalagay, a new survey at the end of 2026. Ibig sabihin, yung 4.2 million na yan, after na yan ng extraction in 2026. Ilan yung na-extract sa 2026? 800,000. So, ibig sabihin, 4.2 million plus 800,000, 5 million talaga yung total expected output natin. Hindi 4.2. Okay? 10.4 million minus 2 million over 5 million. Ilan yan? 10.4 million minus 2 million divided by 5 million. You have 1.68. Okay? Per ton. Ilan yung na-extract natin? 800,000. Times 800,000. 1.68 times 800,000, sagot natin dito, class, 1,344,000. Letter A, 1,344,000. Alright. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to, ano yung next natin? Government grant. Okay, so government grant muna tayo. So, tingnan natin. Okay, government grant. Basically, assistance from the government yan. Okay? We have two types. Government grant related to asset and government grant related to income. Okay? So basically, class, matching principle yung i-apply natin dyan. Kapag government grant related to asset, yung pag-recognize natin ng income is based on depreciation. Okay? Parang ganun. Over the useful life of the asset. Kapag income naman, yung recognition natin is 100% agad. Kasi yung loss na na-incur natin yun. 100% na yun. So yung income from the government grant, 100% na rin. Okay? So later, apply natin, matching principle lang yan. Now, if it's a government grant related to asset, may dalawang klaseng presentation tayo. We can present it as deferred income from government grant or DIGG, which is a liability, okay, non-current liability yan, or pwedeng deduction from asset. Alright? Deduction from asset. Kapag deduction from asset, basically, i-offset natin yung government grant dun sa asset na bibili natin. So, ano yung magiging effect niyan? Well, ang entry mo kapag naka-deferred, naka-DIGG ka, kapag magre-recognize ka ng income, debit DIGG, credit IGG, income from government grant. Alright? Pag naman deduction from asset, basically, bababa yung depreciation expense natin. Pero whether i-present mo siya as deferred income or DIGG or deduction from asset, same yung P&L effect niyan. Lagay ko dito, same P&L effect. Alright? So, presentation lang yung magkakaiba dyan. Sige. Let's go to number 1. Government grant shall be recognized when there is reasonable assurance that ito yung requisites bago ka makapag-recognize ng income. Punta ka sa letter C. Or bago ka mapag-recognize ng government grant. Letter C, the entity will comply with the conditions of the grant and the grant will be received. Okay? Letter C for number 1. Number 2, government grant related to a depreciable asset is usually recognized as income. Punta ka sa DOG. Over the useful life of the asset and in proportion to a depreciation of the asset. So again, matching principle. Okay? Pag related to asset, para lang di-depreciate. Over the useful life mo nire-recognize yung income. Yung A, yung immediately, kapag government grant related to income naman yan. Okay? Pero sabi dyan, related to asset daw, DOG yung sagot mo. Number 3, in the case of government grant related to asset, which of the following accounting treatment is prescribed? Punta ka sa boy. Either set up the grant as deferred income or DIGG, or deduct it at arrive with the carrying amount, deduction from asset. Ano yung effect niyan? Pag DIGG, may entry ka. Pag nag-recognize ka na, debit DIGG, credit IGG. Kapag deduction from asset, mababa yung depreciation expense. Pero, whether DIGG or deduction from asset, same effect sa income statement natin. Boy yung sagot sa number 3. Number 4, what amount of income from the government grant should be recognized in 2025? Okay, so tingnan natin. Basahin natin yung given. On January 1, Pinna Company received a grant, 25 million from the US to defray safety and environmental costs within the area where the entity is located. The safety and environmental costs are expected to be incurred over 4 years. Total mo yan, 2 plus 2 million, plus 4 million, plus 6, plus 8. Nakuha mo ba yung 20 million in total? Okay? So, ibig sabihin class, 2025 daw. Again, matching principle lang. Okay? Kung mag-i-spend tayo ng 2 million, therefore, yung 25 million na total grant sa atin, times 2 million, yung total cost natin is 20 million. So, ibig sabihin, pwede natin i-recognize sa income is 2.5 million, letter C. Okay? So, ginawa ko lang 25 million times 2 over 20, you have 2.5 million. So, 2026, 4 over 20. 2027, 6 over 20. 2028, 8 over 20. Okay? So, systematic and matching principle tayo. Number 5. What amount should be included in the 2026 income statement as income from government grant? On January 1, CBA Company received a grant 10 million from the Japanese government for the construction of a laboratory research facility with an estimated cost of 15 million. Useful life of 5 years. The laboratory and research facility were completed and ready for its use. What amount of income? You recognize natin from the government grant. O, divide mo sa useful life. Again, para lang nag-depreciate. Divide mo yun sa 5, therefore 2 million per year. Letter boy for number 5. Number 6. What is the carrying amount of the machine on December 31, 2026? Okay? On January 1, 2025, so 2 years yung tanong, kasi 2026, January 1, 2025 given. BAE Company purchased the machine for 5.4 million. The entity received a government grant of 400,000 toward the asset cost. Ibig sabihin, deduction from asset. Okay, the machinery is expected to be a 20% reducing balance or declining balance, okay? Over 10 years with estimated residual value of 200,000. Alam natin, pag declining balance method, ini-ignore mo yung residual value. Carrying amount yung basis natin. The accounting policy is to treat the government grant as a reduction in the cost. Ganito gagawin ko dyan, class. Yung cost natin is 5.4 million. Yung government grant natin is 400,000. Therefore, ang magiging bagong cost natin is 5 million. Okay, so deduction daw from cost eh. How much do yung carrying amount after 2 years? Okay? So, gagawin ko dyan, class, tama ba kung 20% declining balance, ito yung depreciation mo, 80% yung carrying amount mo. Multiply ko dyan by 80%, makukuha ko dyan yung carrying amount after 1 year. Multiply ulit ako by 80%, makukuha ko dyan yung carrying amount after 2 years. So, 5 billion times 0.8 times 0.8. Sagot natin dito, 3.2 million, letter D or dog. Okay, so that's for, yun yata, tama ba? That's for government grant. Okay, next, borrowing cost. Borrowing cost natin, class, applies to self-constructed PPE. Okay? Pag tayo nag-construct. So basically, pag sabing borrowing cost, yun yung interest expense. And ang concern natin, alin yung how much yung i-capitalize natin na interest expense. Okay? And borrowing cost, ang pwede mo lang i-capitalize if it's related to a qualifying asset. Kapag it takes substantial time, matagalan, before ma-complete yung asset, ma-construct, yun yung qualifying asset. Okay? We have 2 types of borrowing cost. Specific borrowing and general borrowing. Ano yung formula natin? Pag specific, compute mo lang yung interest expense, i-minus mo lang yung na-earn na interest income, yung capitalizable borrowing cost natin, ayan, yun yung formula. Interest expense minus interest income. Bakit minus yung interest income? Excess yan eh. Hindi naman necessary yan sa construction eh. So, huwag mo i-capitalize yan. General borrowing naman, class, may formula tayo. Average expenditures, multiply natin by the capitalization rate. Okay? When you say average expenditure, ayan, mamaya, i-apply na natin yan. Average expenditures times capitalization rate. Okay? Now, may rule lang tayo sa general borrowing na yung capitalizable borrowing rate natin should not exceed, okay, hindi pwede mag-exceed sa actual interest expense. So later, apply natin yan. Let's go to number 1. Okay, borrowing cost number 1. For purpose of capitalization of borrowing cost, which of the following is not a qualifying asset? Pag qualifying asset, matagalan. A, manufacturing plant, qualifying asset yan. B, power generation facility, yes. D, C, investment property, pwede. Dog yung hindi. Asset that is ready for the intended use. Hindi yan. Kasi hindi mo i-construct eh. So, dog sagot mo dyan. Number 2, if the qualifying asset is financed by specific borrowing, the capitalizable borrowing cost is equal to, punta ka sa C, actual borrowing cost or yung interest expense natin, minus any investment income or interest income from the temporary investment, letter C. Punta tayo sa number 3, if the qualifying asset is financed by general borrowing, the capitalizable borrowing cost is equal to, punta ka sa letter C, average expenditures, multiplied by the capitalization rate, letter C for number 3. Okay, so let's go to problem solving. 4 and 5. Tingnan natin kung how much yung kakapitalize natin. Okay, during 2025, BSA Company constructed a new building, cost of 30 million. The expenditures for the building, which was finished late in 2025, were incurred evenly. Pag incurred evenly, ibig sabihin ng class, yung average expenditures natin is just 30 million divided by 2. Ganun ang implication yan. Average expenditures, 15 million. Okay? The entity had the following loans outstanding. Okay, first bullet, 10% note to finance specifically the construction, so specific borrowing yan. 10 million, the note is unpaid on December 31, investments were made from the loan and income of 100,000 was realized. So sa specific borrowing natin, interest expense natin is, let's compute, 10 million times 10%, that's 1 million. Interest income natin, nakalagay dyan, so 100,000. Therefore, ang pwede mo lang i-capitalize is 900,000 for the specific borrowing. Okay? Doon naman tayo sa general borrowing. Compute natin yung average expenditures, 15 million. multiply natin by the capitalization rate. Paano yung capitalization rate? Punta tayo sa second and third bullet. 12% 10-year bonds issued at face amount 30 million. So, compute natin class yung interest expense yan. 30 million. Okay. Okay, so punta tayo sa third bullet. 8% 5-year note dated March 31, 10 million. So, ganito lang yung capitalization rate. Gagamit na tayo ng weights. Gagawin ko dyan class. Tama ba sa second bullet 30 million? Sa third bullet 10 million. Total of 40 million. 12% times 30 over 40 plus 8% times 10 over 40. Okay? Weights lang ako. So, compute natin. 12% times 30 over 40, you have 9%. Ito, 9% yan. 8% times 10 over 40, you have 2%. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung capitalization rate natin is 11%. 15 million. Gawin mo dyan, class, yung average expenditures natin na 15 million, tanggalin mo muna yung specific borrowing. Okay? Don't forget that. 15 million. Specific borrowing natin is 1 million, so you have 14 million. Okay? Multiply natin siya by 11%, the capitalization rate, 14 million times 11%, you have 1,540,000. Tama ba? 15 million times, 10 million yung specific borrowing natin, hindi 1 million. So you have 5 million, okay? So 5 million, multiply natin by 11%. You have 550,000, okay? So ito yung capitalizable borrowing cost natin for general. So specific 900, general is 550. Add natin, 550 plus 900, you have 1,450,000. Letter B for number 4. Number 5, what is the interest expense? Sir, ano yung interest expense? Kapag sobra-sobra yung na-incur natin ng interest expense, makukuha mo yan sa general borrowing. Okay, sa second bullet ka muna. Tama ba? May 30 million tayo. And then 12% yan. Yung interest yan. 30 million times 12%, total is 3.6 million. Doon sa third bullet, 10 million, multiply by 8%, you have, how much yan? 800,000. Tama? So, ibig sabihin, class, yung total na interest expense natin, sa general borrowing lang ha, huwag nang pansin yung specific. 3.6 plus 800, that is 4.4 million. Pero ang kinapitalize lang natin from the general borrowing is 550. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, class, total interest expense mo is 4.4 million, nakapitalize mo dyan is 550, ang hindi mo pwede i-capitalize is 3,850,000. I-charge mo yan sa interest expense, letter C. Letter C. Okay, 2 more to go. Biological assets. Okay, so this is PS 41. Ang diniscuss sa PS 41, biological assets and agricultural produce. Okay, when you say biological assets, these are living animals and plants. Okay, so living animals and plants. Pero take note, class, na yung plants dito dapat consumable plants. For example, vegetables, ganyan siya. Hindi siya bearer plants. Kasi kapag bearer plants, lagay ko dito, kapag bearer, for example, class, mango trees or coconut trees, PPE classification yan. Okay? PES 16 yan. Ang pinag-uusapan natin, yung mga consumable plants. For example, vegetables. Mga ganyan. Agricultural produce naman, ito yung harvested product. Okay? Harvested product siya of the biological assets and bearer plants. Okay? So, ganun siya. So, tingnan natin. Bigyan tayo ng example. C, ibig sabihin classification. M, measurement. S, standards. Kung ano yung applicable na standards. Cows, living animals yan. Biological asset. Paano mo i-measure yung biological asset? According to PS 41, fair value less cost to sell. Alright? Ano yung standard na gagamitin mo? PS 41. Milk. Okay? So, harvested product yan. Agricultural produce yung milk. Alright? Paano yung measurement? Fair value less cost to sell, pero at the point of harvest. Yun yung sinabi sa standards. Point of harvest. Ano yung applicable na standard is also PS 41. What if pre-process na natin? Naging cheese na yan. Process na. Inventory na yan. Paano yung measurement na inventory? LC and RV. Ano yung standard na gagamitin mo? PS2. Okay? So, yung kailangan mo tandaan for biological assets. Alright, let's go to our handouts. Biological assets number 1. Biological assets are measured at fair value less cost of disposal or fair value less cost to sell. Dog for number 1. Number 2, agricultural produce is measured at fair value less cost of disposal or cost to sell at point of harvest. Letter boy. 3, a gain or loss arising on the initial recognition of biological asset and from change in fair value. Okay, so basically, nire-measure natin siya every year. Pupunta yan ng profit or loss. Letter A, the profit or loss for the period. Number 4, which of the following are encouraged disclosures under PS 41? So FYI. Tawag na doon, price change and physical change. C for number 4. Numbers 5 and 6, ito yung computation natin for biological assets. So tingnan natin class. 5, what amount should the biological asset be initially recognized? And 6, ganun din, December 31 naman. ABC Company purchased chickens at an auction for 300,000. Right? Yan yung selling price natin, 300,000. Cost of transporting the chickens back to the company's office was 3,000. According to PS 41, yung transportation cost na yan, hindi mo yan i-consider or hindi mo yan i-consider as part of the fair value. Okay? So, tama ba? I-measure natin at fair value less cost to sell. Okay? Yun yung kailangan natin. Cost to sell. Yung fair value natin is basically yung selling price minus transportation cost. Ano yung selling price natin? 300,000. How much yung transportation cost? 3,000. So, pag tinanong sa problem, how much yung fair value? Sagot mo dyan, 297,000. Okay, ulitin ko class. Huwag mo isasama sa fair value yung transportation cost, minus mo yan. Cost to sell, tingnan natin. Okay, so in addition, an auctioneer's fee of 2% of sales price. Ano yung 2% ng 300,000 sales price daw? 300,000 times 2%, 6,000. Ito yung cost to sell natin. 297 minus 6,000, fair value less cost to sell natin is 291,000. Letter A for number 5. Number 6. What amount should the biological assets be recognized on December 31, 2025? Tingin ito sa second paragraph. On December 31, 2025, after taking into account allocation, the fair value of the biological assets had increased to 500,000. That is the market price including the cost of transporting the asset. Again, tatanggalin mo yung transportation. So yung tamang fair value, adjusted fair value natin is basically 500,000. How much yung transportation cost? 3,000. So pag tinanong how much yung adjusted fair value, sagot mo dyan, 497,000. Minus mo yung cost to sell. Sabi dyan, cost to sell is 2% of sales price. Ano yung 2% of 500,000? Times 0.02, you have 10,000. Okay? So 497,000 minus 10,000, you have 487,000. Fair value is cost to sell. For this problem is letter A, 487,000. Okay, so last na for the assets. Okay, next, intangible assets. We have 5. Okay, start mo tayo with patent. Tingnan natin kung subject to amortization. If it's a patent, yes, subject to amortization yan. Paano mo siya i-amortize? Compare mo yung useful life and legal life, whichever is shorter. Okay? Whichever is shorter. Ano yung legal life? In the Philippines, it's 20 years, according to the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. Next, singit na natin yung research and development or R&D. Kapag research, laging expense yan. Okay? Expense outright yan. Kapag development, dapat may naka-mention sa problem with technological feasibility or technical feasibility. Kapag ganyan, pwede natin i-capitalize yan. Alright? So, capitalize. Kapag nagpo-produce na tayo, inventory na yan. Okay? PES2 na yan, LCNRV. So, kapag research, 100% expense. Pag development, dapat may i-mention ng technical feasibility. Pag wala, expense din yan. Kapag silent yung problem, R&D, research and development, kapag silent, okay? Ulitin ko, pag nakalagay lang research and development, if silent yan, expense yan. Alright? Next, trademark. Trademark, hindi siya subject to amortization because automatic renewal yan. Okay? So basically, parang indefinite yung life niyan. Hindi siya subject to amortization. Copyright, yes. Pero tingnan mo muna paano siya i-amortize. Tingnan mo muna yung pattern of benefits. Okay? So for example, kung ilang books yung mabibenta for years 1, 2, and 3, pwedeng doon mo i-allocate. Or pag walang pattern of benefits, straight line method ka na lang. Okay? Franchise, yes. I-amortize din natin yan over the term of the franchise. Pag goodwill, hindi man ina-amortize. Okay? Ni-impair mo lang yan. Now, ito yung mga kailangan mong tandaan. Kapag definite yung life or indefinite. Ano yung mga definite? Yung mga chinek ko. Okay? So patent, ano pa? Copyright, franchise, definite yung life niyan. Right? Ano yung indefinite? Dalawa. Trademark and goodwill. Okay? So, tingnan natin. Ina-amortize natin pag definite, yes. Pag indefinite, hindi. Okay? Tingin ka dito. Kailan tayo nag-impairment testing? Okay? Kapag definite yung life, kapag lang merong indicators. Okay? Kapag may indicators lang for impairment. Pero kapag indefinite, lagi yan. Kahit may indicators, kahit wala, magte-test tayo for impairment. Ulitin ko. Pag definite yung life, patent, copyright, franchise, amortize ka. Pero magte-test ka lang for impairment kapag may indicators for impairment. Kapag indefinite, trademark, goodwill, huwag ka mag-amortize. Pero, lagi ka mag-impairment testing whether may indicators or wala. Okay? Sige, so let's answer the related problems. Intangible assets. Number 1. An intangible asset is defined as, yung definition, intangible asset, according to PS 38, punta sa letter C, an identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance. So to number 2. Which of the following statement is true concerning separate acquisition of intangible asset? Actually, intangible asset is initially measured at cost. So, kung ano inaral natin sa PPE at cost, ganun lang din yung application natin sa intangible assets. A. If an intangible asset is acquired separately, the cost of intangible asset can be measured reliably. Tama yan. B. If payment for an intangible asset is deferred beyond normal credit terms, the cost is equal to the cash price equivalent. Again, same concepts yan sa costing ng PPE. C. The cost of separately acquired intangible asset comprises the purchase price and any directly attributable costs. Tama. Yun yung discuss natin. Ibig sabihin, all of these statements are true. Dog for number 2. Number 3, which of the following statement is true concerning amortization and impairment? Okay, so punta tayo dito. Intangible assets with finite or yung definite useful life are amortized. Tama yan. B, intangible assets with finite are tested for impairment when there is indication of impairment. Tama rin yan. C, intangible assets with indefinite useful life are not amortized but tested for impairment at least annually. Tama lahat yan. Dog, all of these statements are true. Let's go to number 4. What amount should be reported as gain from sale of patent? Tingnan natin. An entity was granted the patent on January 1, 2022. And appropriately capitalized 450,000 of related cost. Yung cost of the patent, 450,000. The entity was amortizing the patent over the useful life of 15 years, legal life 20, so okay lang, pasok siya, so 15 tayo. During 2025, or sabihin, January 1, 2025, ganun yung interpretation doon. Ilan yun? 2022 natin binili, 22, 23, or nag-grant tayo 2022, 23, 24, 3 years, after 3 years. Entity paid 150,000 in legal cost. Pag legal cost na dyan, expense yan. Huwag mo i-capitalize yan. After the legal action, the entity sold the patent to the plaintiff for 750. So gagawin ko lang dito, computing yung carrying amount after 3 years. Okay, accumulated amortization is 450,000 divide natin by useful life, or 15 times 3 years. 40,000 divided by 15 times 3, you have 90,000, right? So, ibig sabihin, carrying amount natin, bago natin ibenta, 450 minus 90, 360,000. How much natin binenta? Selling price, according to the problem, 750. So, ibig sabihin, meron tayong gain. 750 minus 360, may gain tayo na 390,000. Dog. Easy. Okay. Let's go to number 5. What is the initial cost of the trademark? A pinnacle company develop a trademark to distinguish its product from those of the competition. Through advertising and other means, the entity is seeking to establish an equal product. Okay. The following items are being treated as part of the cost of trademark. Tingnan natin kung ano yung pwedeng i-capitalize. Marketing research, hindi. Research yan. Expense yan pag research. Design cost of trademark yan. Pag mga design cost na yan, ibig sabihin, nag-grant na tayo ng trademark. Sama mo yan, 1.5 million. Plus, legal fees of registering trademark. Pag related sa registration, capitalizable na yan. Plus 150,000. Advertising to establish recognition. Advertising expense, OPEX yan. Registration fee, again, pag registration, kasama yan. So, 1.5 million. Plus 150,000 plus 50,000. Sagot mo dyan, 1.7 million for number 5, letter A. Number 6, what is the initial measurement of the franchise? At the beginning of the current year, Mr. Accounting Company signed an agreement to operate a franchise for initial franchise fee of 6 million. On the same date, the entity paid 2 million. So, meron tayong down payment na 2 million. To pay the balance in 4 annual payments of 1 million. So, down payment is 2 million. Present value of installment natin is 1 million per year. Gamitin mo yung, kasi per year yan. So, ordinary annuity, 2.91. Sabi dyan sa problem. 1 million times 2.91. You have 2, 9, 10,000. Ibig sabihin, initial cost of the trademark, 4, 9, 10,000. Letter C. And last one, for intangible assets, what amount should be reported as research and development expense? Okay, the entity provides engineering and operational support services to aircraft manufacturers. The entity incurred the following expenditures. Tingnan natin, alin dito yung expense, R&D expense. Salaries of engineers, consultants, and technicians, yes, R&D expense yan. Tingnan natin kung kailan ka magkakaroon ng product or project, right? B, cost of developing the duct and producing the test model, test pa lang, R&D yan, expense din yan. Additional cost of revising the ducting process, R&D din yan, 600,000. Cost of developing first model pa rin, R&D yan. Pero yung last item, cost of conference for the introduction of this new project. Meron ka na existing product or project, expense na yan. So yung first 4 items, yun yung R&D expense. Ang tanong kasi R&D expense eh. Hindi naman operating expense. So huwag mo isasama yung last item. So add natin yung first 4, 400,000 plus 500,000 plus 600,000 plus 100,000. Sagot mo dyan class for number 7, total is 1.6 million. Basically, yung first 4 items, yung R&D expense natin, letter A. Okay? For number 7.